It's Jillian. Uh, yeah, I am finally kind of just giving myself about maybe an hour, 2, 3 hours a day, maybe less, because I want to not only conserve my energy, but also really think about every single section that I'm writing. And I have taken so much information the last 6 months and have had revelations, awakenings, epiphanies because of the layers of evolution that I've been experiencing due to the COVID-19. Thank you very much. I actually am deriving benefit from being exposed to COVID. And so when the body is like when my body is going through the different layers of evolution, whether it's symptoms, whether it's me just going like, oh my god, it sucks that I'm not on my usual higher energetic type of thing, it forces me to slow down and think about what exactly am I trying to do here, what exactly am I trying to accomplish, and how organized do I want to be. And maybe my line of thought like 3 months ago needs to be reconfigured. And then when I'm on the couch sitting, because I'm just like so tired, this post-viral fatigue kicks people's asses. Like I can see why people get depressed when they've been exposed to COVID because they're so tired. They don't have the energy like they used to. So they're not very helpful either around the house or at work. And they feel like they're, less than. And I completely understand. That's how I felt when I was on PMDD like once a month. So, but I don't have the depression. I just know that, okay, since I can't really bring up the, unless I go and get like a bunch of caffeine and go get a bunch of Starbucks and get a bunch of monsters, but I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to synthetically promote, adrenaline or synthetically promote, caffeine in my body so I can get that high and do all this stuff. No, I want to be able to sit with every aspect of my being, of body, mind, and spirit. So when I'm sitting on the couch watching some kind of Netflix I've watched a million times, and then I'm thinking like, okay, let me exercise my brain. And then I'm going and doing those IQ tests, those verbal or those vocabulary tests, those logic tests. And you saw me post them and people were like, oh yeah, and I can kind of see like a pattern emerge from a lot of my people doing the tests. And that's pretty cool. It's kind of what I expected. And we all have room to improve. Okay. So then I'm like, okay, so there's that aspect that I didn't even know about. So I'm adding that to my, here's my outline. Okay. So so the life of a saleswoman is the name of the book. So I'm selling Indefinite Life, and I put the Great Experiment, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna add that in there. Then I'm gonna say, why do people die? So I'm gonna go right into why do people die, and then talk about cancer and malabsorption, cancer and the agonist antibodies. And I'm gonna go very like lightly through it, but I'm gonna have enough touch on it so when I do go actually into the depth of the biochemistry, the fatty acid, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals, it would have already been mentioned earlier on in the book, and then I can add or compound upon it more information, so the reader gets more information as they keep reading. So I will introduce, so this is how I'm going to construct my book. I'm going to introduce specific subject matters and specific things and then explain them more in detail later on as I break everything down. So that way the person gets the bigger picture. So the first thing is Life of a Saleswoman, and I'm going to kind of write about that because there is definitely a movie or a play that was written and done back in the 1940s that kind of foretold what the future is going to be and why we are where we are today. Then I'm going to say, why do people die? Cancer and malabsorption. And then I'm going to say imbalanced energy and biomolecular thermodynamics. Then I'm going to mention the inner space and the outer space, the micro and the macro, expansion and contraction, as well as electromagnetism and gravity. So I'm really going to touch upon a lot of the scientific aspect, electrons, protons, neutrons. And then I'm going to go into unifying the body, mind, and spirit. But then I have to go break down what is the body. Well, there's the 12 different systems. Now, I'm not going to go too in depth with the 12 different systems. You'll get enough information that I'm going to extrapolate and take from my first book that you all might have and bring that in and then go into the biochemistry, okay, the the fatty acids, the amino acids, the prohormones and minerals, and break that down. And then also the microbiome, which you have read in my last book, my current book that's out right now, Viruses and the Benefits, Parasites, Protozoa, Proteins, Fungus, and Bacteria, and break all that down. Okay? And then also, so that's the body, mind, and spirit, and then there's the well, that's the body, and then there's the mind, the brain, influenced by the biochemistry. So the biochemistry is fatty acid, amino acids, prohormones, and minerals. And I would say it is directly and indirectly influenced by the microbiome, because yes, when you have too much parasites or too much fungus or too much bacteria, it does definitely influence the way you think, the way you reason. So the mind is brain influenced by the biochemistry and by the microbiome. By the biochemistry and microbiome. And those concepts are called like your reasoning and logic. And that came from those IQ tests. Because people were very proud of their high IQs, which is great. But remember, it's not just the high IQ. It's also balancing the body, so that way your body is relatively balanced as far as the biochemistry, and then your spirit. How does your spirit influence your body and your mind together? Okay? But I'll mention that in a minute. So it was good to get all those different results from people who were taking those IQ tests, because I could see, yes, as well as the mental age test and the maybe some of the reasoning, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's the mental age test and the IQ test. I think I took a vocabulary test and something else. And so it's good to see where people are at and what we pride ourselves to be strong in, which is great. I mean, being smart in our society is, I'll tell you what, it's a great thing, because you have so many doors opening up for you. But it's a short-lived type of thing. Because yes, you have someone like Stephen Hawking or Albert Einstein or Tesla or Steve Jobs, who was great during their span of a lifetime, and then they've died. Okay, so what if you can still be smart and your body can live on, so as long as you balance everything out and you are able to adapt to the changing atmosphere? And what if also you had a very balanced spirit? So the spirit is the body, mind influencing the evolution belief systems. Okay, so so I really had to find a way to not have these hard transitions, because I have so much information, but how do you transition smoothly into the next thing without it being like a hard break? So transition is very, very important, so people see the connection. Our society doesn't transition between subject matters very well, so that's why people have a disconnect between each other, because people don't see a connection between each other. And so I'm trying to find a way to connect the world together, but it means that you have to connect your personal body, mind, and spirit. And if that's disconnected, then yes, you're going to be disconnected from your brethren. So spirit is body and mind influence evolution belief systems, which then translate into political belief systems based upon the above mention of the mind brain influenced by the biochemistry and the microbiome. So your politics is based upon your reasoning and logic, your common sense, your social sensitivity, and creativity. Okay? And then the religion, Vatican and Freemasons, still being influenced by the microbiome, by the body, by the mind, the brain influenced by the biochemistry and the microbiome, which then translates into reasoning, logic, common sense, social sensitivity, creativity, and you may have a deficit in all four of those, or you may have an overabundance, and some people may not have even one at all because they have an absence of a certain chemical in their body, that then some people need to go to the doctor and get some kind of medication to balance them out. Okay, and then you have the science, how facts can be spun into different perceptions between the micro and the macro. So yes, so I will mention the micro and the macro way in the beginning, because it is about inner space and outer space, the micro, macro, expansion, contraction. Inner space and outer space, you are respirating. And outer space, the universe is expanding and contracting. Okay? And that's what also causes then the chemical reactions, and why there is some kind of, like, there's junk like there's junk DNA in the inner space, and then there's dark matter in the outer space, and that's disorganized and organized chaos. So let me put that down too. Junk DNA and dark matter. Junk. So I have to touch upon all this stuff. So you all see the connections. Okay, and that's what I've been just thinking about and like grappling with the last couple of weeks as I've been physically dealing with post-viral fatigue. So then my brain is now being used because my body is going like, okay, time to take a break because you have to evolve to this current environment, and you need to now use your brain and start organizing your book, because I have so much information. I mean, you see how much information. I have 2 books out that is like so much information, some of which I have taken away from my old book. I said, okay, we don't have a diet on the Jelly Juice Protocol. We're not using pink salt on the Jelly Juice Protocol. I changed it from 2 cups of cabbage to 1 cup of cabbage. It's not 50-50. It's really 25-75. And getting that across to people who are still stuck in my old book and the old ways is another, evolution unto itself. So, I have so much information, and how do you organize it? Well, you have to have a relatively organized mind to be able to put these things together. Just like I've watched that movie, The Queen's Gambit. She was very, very good at visualizing the moves in a chess game. And I've never played chess. I know a little bit about chess, but I've never really played it. I've played checkers, okay? But chess has a lot of different moves, a lot of different moving parts, and kind of like my book right now. This is like a chess game. How do you get this information to land to where it takes away any argument someone would have regarding potential indefinite life, regarding their fear of salt, where it's like checkmate. I have rendered you now speechless. You have no other argument except that you believe people should die. Okay, fine. If you believe people should die, then go take your pills, powder, supplements, be afraid of salt, be afraid of sugar, go play the discrimination game, go be in fear of everyone and their mother, and don't learn how to adapt. Okay, you've already set your life up that way. There's nothing for me to say to try to convince you. And then I have my information. Okay, so you can have, just like with science, you can have facts that can be spun into 2 different belief systems. Okay, and they would be true. Because if you believe people should die, you will do everything possible to destroy yourself, but think that you're living simultaneously until you're not anymore. Okay? And you can back that up by facts. Those that don't like salt will say, yeah, hypernatremia, too much salt. Well, we're not just drinking salt water, and we're not just taking salt without water. But even then, but that's how they're able to back up their stance, because they have this belief system that jelly juice is just salt. And so they will find everything in PubMed to support that. Oh yeah, when you give a dog salt or salt water or jelly juice, they're going to have these symptoms of lethargy and this and that, thirst. Okay, yeah, dogs get thirsty. You give them water. But the thing is that symptoms is evolution. Now, whether or not how you back up that evolution will be the difference of whether or not you'll survive the evolution or not. So yes, if you're not doing jelly juice and you still experience lethargy, you still experience, cancer, disease, chronic illness, all the different symptoms, well, your body's trying to evolve, because that's the body trying to tell you, hey, there's some imbalance here, please fix it, and you're not giving it what it needs, and eventually, yes, you will not survive any type of major event. But if you're on the jelly juice, you will still get all the different symptoms because that's your predisposition, but you will live through them, and that is the difference. Now, I can't promise you'll live through them because I don't know what you do in your world, but the concepts behind jelly juice is that you have not only the salt and the water, which is the action potential, and the energizing force, same thing, but it also has the bacteria that your gut needs, and it also has the nutrition in the cabbage and kale. But it's not just that, because we're not just doing jelly juice and that's it. We're not doing a juice fast. Then you have the food supply that has the carbs, the meat, the milk, the eggs, the vegetables, the fruits, the sugars, a diverse food supply to make sure that it backs up your biochemistry, your microbiome, and your 12 different systems. Okay? And then you have all of the universe and electromagnetism and gravity and all of that to support your thermodynamics, your biomolecular thermodynamics. And then you have the powers that be that are in charge, of which we're going to find out tomorrow who is going to be in charge of us, okay? And they're going to have their own take. And all of their belief systems are filtered through a biochemistry, but they still want to live. But it's about what the end result is. Well, we don't know what people's end results are because everybody is different. However, if you can keep yourself alive, then there's no end result. And so, yes, everybody, especially with humanity, we have, if you're not doing j juice, you have a potential of maybe 100 years, if that, maybe less than that actually. So that's a lot that any leader in Congress, in the health and wellness industry can work with. So as long as you don't have so many predispositions and you're relatively healthy. So if you have a little issue here, they can go give you a little antibiotic here, and it's not really going to affect you in the long run too much, especially if tomorrow you say, okay, I'm not doing more antibiotics, I'm going to do probiotics and jelly juice, and you can turn your shit around just like that. But if someone doesn't do jelly juice, then yes, they can afford to go to the herbalist for a certain amount of time. But that certain amount of time, yes, they're giving away their money, their power, all of that to someone who is going to then deplete their life force, surgeons and doctors. But people accept that, and they're okay with the fact that, yeah, I understand that when you get a cancer diagnosis, and that's a lot of growth in one area, when you stop the growth, you stop the energy, of which then, yes, will slow down the potential death process because you have malabsorption. See, the reason why people die from cancer is because they have malabsorption. What does that mean? Well, it means that, yes, you have a lot of growth in this one area. That's what cancer is growth in one area. But that energy has to come from somewhere, and that's where the body cannibalizes itself. And so when you stop that energy potential, yes, you'll stop that cannibalization, but you're still dying. You're still slowly dying. It's not, but if you would actually support that cancer with the right chemistry, it wouldn't be cancer. It would just be you evolving, and you would survive that diagnosis. It wouldn't be cancer anymore because now that energy is being redistributed throughout the body. Okay? But cancer is when you have so many agonist antibodies. And so that's what I'm going to be explaining when I says why do people die. Cancer and malabsorption. Imbalanced energy and biomolecular thermodynamics. Well, what the hell does that mean? And I go into malabsorption. I go into the fact that people are starving themselves and the body still wants to live. Or they're being applied with so many antibodies that do search and destroy, like monoclonal antibodies that do search and destroy. Not only you have the agonist antibodies, that's the yin, or that's the yang, but the monoclonal antibodies are the yang. Okay, and when you have too much on either end, no matter what, if you're already in balance, you're going to die from each end. So that's why people die, and that's why people die from heart attacks and strokes and aneurysms, because of the fact that they have so much of either end. When you have so many antibodies clogging up your arteries and capillaries, it stops the oxygen from getting into your brain, into your heart, and then, yeah, people die from that. So that's why you want to have not only the action potential of the salt, but you also want to reinforce your blood vessels and your capillaries and arteries with the phosphates and the sugars and the diverse food supply and the amino acids and all of that. And so yeah, and so then when people use the synthetic vasodilation and vasoconstriction, which I need to put that somewhere in here. Oh yeah, I'm going to put synthetic vasodilation, synthetic vasoconstrictors, and synthetic vasodilators. And that is the supplements industry. That is the prescription drug industry, as well as the over-the-counter drugs. That's why people die, is because they're just trying to buy time without really getting time. They're just slowing down the energy. Because it takes energy to live and it takes energy to die. Okay. So, anyways, that is what is going on. I just wanted to give you the can you see me? All right, well, anyways, I'm gonna go, but I wanted to go over that, and that's it. Okay, you have a nice day. Bye.